Sarada has surpassed every Uchiha at this point in the series, and before you leave or rush down to the comments to call me a million different names, let me try to explain to you why she does, and also why I agree with some of the outrage, but also why I have no issues with it, at least in some aspects. Since the release of Chapter 10, honestly, even before that with just the leaked image of Sarada landing Shidori against Hidari, the discussion about Sarada's current power and skill has become a topic of contention within the Boruto fandom. Now, I personally have my own gripes with the Sarada vs Hidari situation, which hopefully when they fight in the next chapter, my issues may or may not be resolved, but let's talk about why she could pull off her counter against Hidari. Editing Rogue here, just real quick, thought I'd point out that something that a viewer said in one of my previous videos was that probably one of the reasons why Hidari wasn't able to counteract or react to Sarada is because he was using Shidori with the Rinnegan and he doesn't have the Sharingan, which, if those of you don't know, to really accurately use the Shidori jutsu, you have to have the Sharingan's visual prowess to be able to compensate for your opponent's movements or change or counterattack, anything like that. So that was a point, good on them. That was something I wasn't even thinking about at the time. So that is another factor to why that happened with Sarada versus Hidari. But continue on. So for my point to make sense, let me ask you a question. If Sasuke in, let's say, the Chunin exams unlocked the Mangekyo Sharingan, would that immediately put him at his level of power when he fought Killer Bee or when he was at the 5 Kage Summit? The answer to that is no. He'd be stronger for sure, but he would get beat by his starter Shippuden counterpart, most likely, and that version of Sasuke might only use his base Sharingan or not even cut it on, because stat-wise, he is superior. So to go back to the Sarada situation, just because you see base 3-tome Sharingan, doesn't mean she's not getting much of a boost, or that her Sharingan is just built different, because in reality, what's really making the difference is her base stats. Sarada being the daughter of Sasuke comes with its advantages. You gotta realize that Sasuke was altered genetically multiple times throughout the course of Shippuden. Man got boosted from Orochimaru's drug enhancements and experiments. He received Itachi's eyes, which gave him a boost in power. They got the famed Hashirama cells in his body when Kabuto was trying to keep him from dying. And then he received chakra from the 6 paths and got the Rinnegan. So when you consider all the things in his body that made this man broken on a genetic level, and then that same man decides to have a kid, a lot of those play a factor into her base level, because now genetically, out the gate, when she trains, her level and potential will exceed damn near every other, just because her base will naturally be at a higher starting point. It's because of that same logic that a lot of times you see in Dragon Ball, for example, when Goku and Vegeta are training, most of the time it's in their base forms, because a stronger base means a stronger increase when they transform. So given that same logic, after the time skip especially, when you consider some of the feats she already had in the original Boruto series, just her using base Sharingan is a big deal because of how strong she is. Again, my only gripe is while both her and Boruto basically won the genetic lottery due to their parents, Boruto on a genetic level got another higher increase just due to the fact that he is now full Otsutsuki. So of course his base is at a much higher level, especially with him being trained by Sasuke, Kashinkoji, and probably Orochimaru as well. But in Sarada's case, she shouldn't be near his base level, at least using just Sharingan, in my opinion. Now if we bring her Mangekyo into the conversation, that's an entirely different beast, but me personally, I don't see her competing with Boruto's base without at least her Mangekyo being active. So that's why, again, I really don't want to scale her too hard until after the chapter, or after the next chapter for clarification, but I will say this confidently, Sarada, whether you believe it or not, probably clears 90 to 95% of Shippuden, given the current scaling we are seeing.
You serious?
Now I know that's a very outrageous thing for me to say, and if you don't agree with me or believe me, truth be told, I wouldn't blame you. When characters in Naruto are on a different level, and I've said this before, but we were already shown their insane abilities or power and knew they were built different, I don't blame someone if they look at current Sarada and go, how the fuck would she beat Hashirama or Madara, given what we've seen so far? All I will say is, this next chapter will really clear up Sarada's potential for all of us. If she has a legitimate showdown with Hidari at least, next chapter, no, of course there's going to be some exposition, but hopefully they actually have like a straight up fight and we get to see what Sarada has in her arsenal and how much she's improved, and that'll probably clear up a lot of our issues. I also did notice, or at least enjoy throughout the last chapter, that even within those brief moments, Sarada keeps cutting her Sharingan on and off, which is cool because you can tell she's really trying to be really skilled at managing her stamina or control with the Sharingan. Based off of that logic, I really hope Kakashi was the one that kind of trained her a little bit. Maybe Sakura trained her too at somewhat, but I really hope Kakashi trained the hell out of Sarada during this time skip. But hopefully based off that logic, that means Kakashi spent a lot of time training Sarada throughout this time skip, so that'll explain why she's going to be a beast with a fucking Sharingan, or at least good at managing her stamina and chakra control while using the Sharingan. But that's just her potential at work. If you want to talk about another character's potential, let's go look at this Himawari video somewhere on the screen. And if not that, then maybe you just want to look at a playlist of my previous discussions. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching the video. Back to the shadows I go.